Welcome to the House of Hypertrophy. Are you missing out on maximum muscle growth if 3 specific exercises are not in your training program? What 3 exercises? The squat, bench press, and deadlift, often called the Big 3. They are some of the most popular exercises ever. These movements play an integral part in numerous training programs, such as the famous Starting Strength program. Some state these exercises are irreplaceable for building muscle, but is this true? Do the squat, bench press, and deadlift possess unique traits that make them superior for evoking muscle hypertrophy? Fortunately, a range of scientific studies provide answers. Let us dive in, starting with an excellent brand new study from Spain. 36 trained men were assigned into either a free weight or machine group. The free weight group trained the barbell back squat, bench press, prone row, and seated overhead press. The machine group performed corresponding machine exercises, a hack squat, chest press, seated row, and machine shoulder press. The deadlift wasn't involved in this study. We'll circle back to this later. Each exercise was performed for 3 sets a session, 3 times a week with these loads across 8 weeks. Each lifting repetition was performed with a maximal intended speed, and the researchers tracked the velocity of the reps. Subjects performed their reps each set up until their velocity had slowed down by 20%. Based on prior research, this likely resulted in subjects performing 50% of the maximum repetitions per set. It was ultimately found growth of the quadriceps, measured at the 30% and 60% region, was similar between both the free weight and machine groups. Growth of the pectoralis major and rectus abdominis was also similar between both groups. Thus, this study indicates free weights, and that includes barbell squats and bench presses, were not superior to machine alternatives for growing the muscles measured. This is just one study, but we have additional studies comparing squats and bench presses to alternatives. What are their findings? Let us speed through them and find out. This paper from Belgium had previously untrained men perform either a free weight only, machine only, or combined program. The free weight group trained the barbell back squat, dumbbell bench press, and deadlift. The researchers looked at how the training impacted circumference gains for the chest, thigh, and upper arm. Technically, none of these measurements are really relevant to the deadlift. In any case, circumference increases for all regions were similar between all 3 groups. Now, circumference isn't a precise measure of muscle growth, but we do have this other study out of Canada. 36 trained individuals trained either a free weight or machine only program. We can see the free weight group trained the barbell back squat, bench press, and stiff-legged deadlift. The machine group involved some Smith machine alternatives, like a Smith machine squat. The researchers looked at how training impacted quadriceps and biceps growth, so again none of these measurements are really relevant to the deadlift or even bench press. Nonetheless, quadriceps and biceps gains were ultimately similar between both groups. Overall, these 2 studies further support the idea free weights aren't superior to machine alternatives for growth of the measured muscles. Even bodyweight movements, like push-ups, can be highly effective for muscle hypertrophy. This paper from Japan demonstrates this. 18 trained men either performed high reps to failure on the barbell bench press or a bodyweight push-up variation. Some may be questioning the use of high reps in this study, but we've previously seen at the House of Hypertrophy that reps approximately between 6 and 35 can be similarly effective for building muscle, provided the reps are performed to or very close to failure, which was accomplished in this paper. It was found chest and triceps growth was comparable between both exercises. Another interesting study from the USA recruited 23 men with some training experience. A bench press group performed the exercise for 3 sets in the 6 to 8 rep range, and aimed to increase the load they trained within this rep range across the weeks. A push-up group performed 3 sets, and progressed through performing harder push-up variations. Both groups experienced average chest growth, and the percentages actually favor the push-up group. It's difficult to say if this is a real effect. None of the gains in this study were statistically significant, likely because the study only lasted 4 weeks. It is possible the push-up group just had subjects with slightly average better muscle building genetics. Nonetheless, I would say the study demonstrates the barbell bench press evidently isn't superior. So, it seems free weights, including barbell squats and bench presses, are not better muscle builders compared to alternatives. In other words, many roads may lead you to the same destination, regardless of what path you take. Our high quality partner Alpha Progression can help you create track, and evolve your hypertrophy and/or strength training. With multiple valuable features, it serves all experience levels. Their incredibly flexible generator can tailor a program to your desires in less than 3 minutes. Specify the equipment you have, how often and long you want to train for, and if you want to focus or neglect certain muscles. There are over a quadrillion input combinations on which your plan is based, and the training philosophy is derived from meta-analyses and systematic reviews. Once the workout is generated, you can even deploy supersets or drop sets. Graphics unveil your long-term progress, from your strength progression, the consistency of workouts, and even the number of sets performed per muscle. There is a database with over 550 exercises. Scrolling through, you may discover exercise variations you never knew existed. The link in the comments and description gives you 2 weeks free of all the app's premium features, and if you like it and go beyond, you'll get 20% off a subscription. We'll never promote trash at the House of Hypertrophy. I sincerely believe the app is nothing short of exceptional. The app's reviews echo this. None of the studies truly compared the muscle-building effects of the deadlift to other exercises, but based on the research behind what stimulates muscle hypertrophy, I would argue there's no reason to believe the deadlift is essential. As thoroughly dissected previously at the House of Hypertrophy, contrary to unfortunate widespread belief, the evidence demonstrates muscle damage and the buildup of metabolites are clearly not strong or primary drivers of muscle growth. Rather, mechanical tension seems to be the primary hypertrophy stimulus. What is this? Within the deep depths of your muscle tissue are contractile machinery that generate force, that is, tension. Throughout the muscle tissue are mechanosensors that can detect the tension and convert the tension into a signal that produces muscle hypertrophy. Tension is tension. It can be achieved with barbells, dumbbells, machines, and even body weights. Provided you're performing a body movement that will recruit the desired muscle, and you perform repetitions to or very close to failure, high tension overall will be achieved. Lighter weights can also achieve high tension simply by ensuring you're performing reps with a lighter weight to or very close to failure. After this video, feel free to check out our in-depth video where we describe mechanical tension in greater detail. In summary, the scientific literature indicates the barbell squat, bench press, and conventional deadlift aren't essential for maximizing hypertrophy. Alternative exercises can produce comparable muscle growth. It's imperative to recognize I'm not saying you shouldn't train barbell squats, bench presses, or conventional deadlifts. If you want to train any of these, that's absolutely fine. The research reviewed in this video demonstrates these movements are highly effective for building muscle. It's just that the key point is you can experience similar gains from alternative exercises. Now, I will say with the conventional deadlift, they're frequently reported as being very fatiguing and requiring longer recovery periods. As we've seen previously at the House of Hypertrophy, the overall current evidence actually fails to support the notion the deadlift is more fatiguing versus other exercises. Yet, as I mentioned in that video, this is only based on 2 studies, so more data is needed. But if the deadlift is truly more taxing, then I think you could make the case there's better options if your goal is to build muscle. Perhaps a trap bar deadlift variation, or perhaps you want to avoid loading the spine altogether and focus on performing movements like leg curls and hip thrusts. Nonetheless, constructing a program where you train with some exercise variation can of course be done. It's entirely plausible for you to construct a program where you train both barbell squats and machine squat variations. Remember to feel free to check out the Alpha Progression app and/or check out our ultimate guides on developing the side and rear delts.